everybody, to the Superhumanistic podcast, where we talk about all things health, wellness, and longevity. Thank you for joining us today. We are your hosts. I'm David.
I'm Jessica.
Make sure that you hit that follow and subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss another episode. We put out one episode a week on Saturdays. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube and Instagram for more longevity tips. And don't forget to share this podcast with someone that you love who's also on a health and wellness journey. Last week, we talked about the sciatic nerve. So if you want to learn more about staying healthy, especially when it comes to your lower body, back, hips, go back and listen to last week's episode. This week, we are going to be talking about cholesterol. So there's some myths involved with that. We'll be talking about what your doctor didn't tell you about your heart, brain, and longevity when it comes to cholesterol. So we're going to jump into that.
Yeah, so actually our bodies do need cholesterol in order to survive. I know we went to the doctor recently. I myself was told that I might have a little bit on the higher side of cholesterol, but our bodies do need cholesterol in order to survive.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's not mentioned. Well, you talked about it. I also went to the doctor recently and was told that my cholesterol is a little higher than usual and was told, oh, you don't need to start medication now. I was like, medication? How do we take that leap from being a healthy person to needing medication? But come to find out, every single cell in your body is actually wrapped in cholesterol.
Yeah, even our brains are largely made up of cholesterol as well.
That includes your hormones, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol are all built from cholesterol.
And with it being now the season of winter where we're living, vitamin D is less and less, but vitamin D is actually made from cholesterol as well. So I guess that's a positive, having a little bit higher cholesterol, then I can get more vitamin D in winter. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, if you're hearing that cholesterol is bad, that's already going to be misleading.
So with that, cholesterol shows up in our arteries as well. And why does it start to show up in our arteries? Well, here's the part that most people don't actually hear.
Yeah, arteries actually don't get clogged because of cholesterol. And I know that's what we grow up hearing all the time.
Yeah, when you hear high cholesterol, you're like, oh gosh, I'm going to get a heart attack any day now. But really, the reason that our arteries start to get clogged is because of inflammation. And it actually begins to damage our arteries if we have that chronic inflammation, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, that inflammation is caused by a lot of things that are bad for you that we always tell everybody on this podcast not to do. So avoid those sugar spikes, so those Coca-Cola drinks, anything that's high in sugar. Obviously, smoking is another one. You want to avoid smoking. Also, stress. So try to make sure that you're living in the moment, practicing meditation, those type of things to help reduce that stress. Poor sleep is another cause of this. So all these lead to scraping and injuring the artery wall, which is what leads to those bad effects.
Yeah, so then what happens is when we have that inflammation happening in our arteries, cholesterol actually is the thing that shows up to start to repair our walls.
Yeah, it's essentially patching up all the damage that has occurred from all that inflammation.
But in previous episodes, I know we talked about chronic inflammation and how when we are constantly putting our bodies under stress or constantly on a daily basis doing all of those things we tell you not to do, eating really high calorie or high fat percentage of foods, those foods that we shouldn't always be eating, inflammation keeps happening in our bodies and more cholesterol then shows up, which in turn becomes like plaque in our arteries.
All right, so right now we'll jump into what actually drives heart disease. We talked about a lot of things, but this is why people with normal cholesterol still have heart attacks.
And why some people with high cholesterol actually do live to be 100.
It's not the cholesterol.
It's actually inflammation.
So we've talked about blue zones before, which are those countries or different areas where people tend to live above 100 or at least close to 100, and that's due to a lot of different factors in their environment. So we'll jump into some of those environmental factors, such as the blue zone. And blue zones, we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but they eat a lot of olive oil, which is good for those omega-3s and to feed your brain. They also eat a lot of fish, also good source of protein, also those omega-3s, nuts, cheese, and eggs. So those are all important just to kind of get those healthy fats.
All the foods that I tend to love. And it's not that they have low-fat diets, it's just they are eating the healthier fats, right? The omega-3s that we talk about too.
Yeah, it's super important. They also stay active. They do a lot of walking in these blue zone areas, so they're essentially walking all day. They also eat a lot of plants and really manage their stress very well.
Yeah, so really the superhumanistic cholesterol reset here, the thing that we need you to do, that we ourselves will be practicing to make sure our cholesterol stays in balance, is what actually lowers our bad cholesterol naturally.
So yeah, the ways that you can lower that bad cholesterol naturally are going to be taking a long walk after your meal. That's going to start burning those calories and processing everything. Eating a lot of fiber as well. That's super important when it comes to your diet. Sleeping well. That's so important in all kinds of different ways. I know if I don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, I don't really feel right. And that just contributes to a whole wide range of things when you're not sleeping well, but especially that cholesterol. Also, reducing sugar is super important, as we touched on earlier. Start getting rid of those Cokes and those type of drinks that have a lot of sugar. Try some alternate options, such as tea without sugar. And really just lowering your stress, so focusing on those ways to stay in the moment, to meditate, to not take life and your job so seriously, and those type of factors will help reduce that cholesterol.
Yeah, so just doing those tips there is better than what any medication can do for us. So if your doctor's recommending that you be on medication, ask what other natural ways you can work through having higher cholesterol first.
All right, so that is what we had for you today. And remember that your goal is not necessarily low cholesterol, but it's really to reduce that inflammation. Make sure that you follow us on Superhumanistic on everything. Follow this podcast so you never miss another episode, and share this podcast with someone that you love so that you can also have healthy arteries and stay more superhumanistic. We'll see you next time.
Bye.